Welcome to this drive trying out Tesla's FSD beta. Here are my settings, and here's how you know that the full self-driving is in control. Now, on to the video. Welcome back to another FSD beta video. I know it's been a while. I've been really busy with other things, and even though I was recording, by the time I would have had a chance to edit them and upload them, a new version came out. So I just said, all right, to heck with those and just try to force one today because I think tomorrow we're actually going to get a new version as well. At least, and I think the first 1,000 people from the that have been doing the press the button basically are now going to get added to the beta test program. So that'll be awesome. I still don't like how it takes turns so wide. I think I've said enough to death how slow it is. But I don't think that could be improved without adding another camera that looks far down the road. So we're just kind of stuck with that. I will say, I think my last video was in version 9. And I know I mentioned in that one that I did not trust it as much. It was just not, it wasn't reliable where it didn't work, and it wasn't reliable enough consistently. So much so that I stopped using it a lot in 9, unless I was okay with the stress. um, Now I still use it a lot. It's just I stopped using. I usually use it like 95, 98% of the time. But I stopped because dropped it down a lot because of I wasn't trusting it. But version 10, it's turned it back around. I trust it again. It works very reliably, better than any other version, and it fails how it fails in the same place. So if I know there's a spot it's not going to work in, it'll always not work in that spot, which is makes me trust it in the way that I can now react to it. Now, obviously, we want those things to be fixed, so we keep reporting them. But some of these issues have been lasting a long time. For example, these cones here. For example, these stick cones, these skinny ones, they don't seem to affect it. It doesn't move over for them, even though I honestly don't like driving so close to them when I'm driving down here myself. But the cones, like we have cones on our highways, and they are not even remotely close to the lane, the passing lane. They're on the passing lane side, but they're not even close. And yet it always moves over with that. As a matter of fact, it's so scared of them that when I'm in the middle lane and it needs to pass the car, it'll put the indicator on, hesitate, turn it off, and do that repeatedly. It's horrifically annoying. The problem is when there are cones put there to cut off a lane or to close a lane off, it never moves over. That has never worked for me ever since I've been testing FSD beta. It always does it when I don't need it to do it, and it doesn't do it when I need it to do it. And I get to test that a lot down here because there's a lot of times that they cut out the lanes and not once. I mean, they must have been like 50, 60 times. And it's not once has it ever moved over from getting cut off. I always got to take over before it crashes into the cones. Having said that, if there's cones on the side of the road and they're not even remotely close to the lane, it'll move over away from those, saying it's moving away from cones. I got nothing. And actually, mentioning exactly that, I think a little further up this road, they do close off this lane with cones. But I think by chance, we happen to be in the right lane, the left lane, which is not getting cut off. Now, there is one thing that does happen. There's a spot where I turn off the lane change because I can see further down the road than the car can see, and I see the lanes getting cut off, and it's already in the right lane, even though it does need to move over, but it needs to move over after the cone. So I stop it from changing into the lane. And that's another thing hopefully they'd be able to fix with I don't know, some longer range cameras, maybe. Because right now I don't think I don't think it predicts far enough into the future. So, for example, the cones are coming up. We're doing, I don't know, 40 miles an hour, 47 miles an hour. So they're coming up pretty quickly. And it doesn't even think about it like ever whenever it's going down the road. But they're so far ahead that I can see them that far ahead. So I can plan for it like way early, and I wish he would do that and say, all right, I know I got to go in the right lane, but I see the cones are blocking out that lane, so let me not change lanes right now until I get a chance to after the cones. Um, and there's a lot of instances where well, I think every instance is where it doesn't think far enough ahead. So here's the part where the lane gets cut off. I'd already turned it off, so it didn't. It was already happened to be in the right lane. Happened to be in the correct lane, I should say. And it does know that it has to go over because I had to make a right soon. So it will put the indicator on. I let it do its thing. It does not go over through the cones, thankfully. I have had that happen to me once, and I've seen it happen plenty of times in other people's videos. And like I said, if the lane's getting cut off and it's going too fast, it will absolutely blow through those cones if you don't take over. And I am actually going to let it drive into the parking lot this time around. I don't normally let it do that because this first thing, people in Texas are the worst drivers in all of America, possibly all of the world, at least the part of the world I've been to. They don't look, they don't pay attention, they back up out their spots before they look, and it's happened so consistently. It's kind of a joke around here. But I did let it take over, so it's actually doing all this now. However, it doesn't see this speed bump, which kind of was odd to me because back in New Jersey, it saw most of the speed bumps. But here, it hasn't seen, there's not too many speed bumps, but it never sees them here. So I'm not sure what's up with that. I'm not sure if this version doesn't see speed bumps as well. I know a couple of people have had it and it just blew through the speed bumps. Now I skipped ahead. I'm actually heading back now. And this is me driving, just so you see the gray steering wheel, so you know. So it's driving now. I don't think I've ever let it do this before. Because, yeah. So it didn't give enough. That lane is pretty tiny to come in, and, everything's bigger in Texas, include the cars. So there's a lot of big cars coming in, big trucks coming in. So I took over just to make it go in the right lane and then put it back on. Now, not once has it ever been able to leave this parking lot when I put it on here. And this time there happened to be a truck behind me, so I didn't want him to be stuck there for 20 minutes while I tried to figure out how to cross two lanes and the giant median in the middle. Again, another reason why I want to think far enough ahead. For what I've seen, anytime it's able to cross any big lanes like we have down here with the big medians in the middle, it's because the other car just happens to not be coming. If the other car is coming, it'll gun it across the first two lanes or three lanes sometimes and just run into the other car. I got to slam on the brakes before it goes out too far and gets clipped by the car coming down because they're not going to stop. They got the right of way. They shouldn't be stopping. It's not their fault that I am letting Tesla crash my car. um, so I took over immediately, but it doesn't see them. It doesn't. Well, I shouldn't say it doesn't see them. It absolutely sees them. You can see them on the screen, but it doesn't react to them. And if it does, it acts way too slowly to work. Now, something that always bugs me here, it always wants to go into this right lane here. I'm guessing it doesn't say it's coming out of passing lane. It always says it's to following the route. Like if I don't have a navigation route in the place, it'll stay in this lane just fine. But if I have the route in and the route it's a left turn up far up ahead though, it always wants to go in that lane. And the problem with that is that that lane actually comes to an end. So you generally want to stick into the lane I'm in unless you're going to be making a right turn at these lights up here. Um, so it always makes that, like I told you, it always makes the same mistakes. So it's consistent with it. So I can trust when it's going to make the mistake. So I know when I got to respond or when I got to take it off or such. But like I said, this has been worlds better. It's definitely been the best it's ever been since I've been down here in Texas. I will say that Texas was a struggle. It's been a struggle for it. I did work a lot better in New Jersey. Um, versions ago, like version 9, obviously. Um, but when I came to Texas, it was struggling. Everything was a struggle, even though to me the roads are 100 times better than in New Jersey. They're a lot bigger for sure. They're a lot better marked. Like I don't understand at all why it's struggling down here. The corners are even better designed, so it doesn't have to do that wide turn because the corners are cut so that you can take a better corner. Where in New Jersey they just make them like a square, and so you can hit your tires against them if you're not paying attention. Or if you were a driver from Texas, you went to New Jersey, I guarantee you you'd lose your tires in like 2 days because you would click every corner because they do not pay attention to what they're driving down here. They will cut you off. They will come out in front of you. It's like everybody's driving and they don't know any other car exists on the road all the time. It's kind of an epidemic. And I think the rest of this is pretty smooth. Nothing much happens here. I think this is where this lane will soon cut off. I still get nervous though when it's near curbs because it does like to hug the curbs here. Uh, yes, another lane comes to an end. And this is good, so eventually we're going to be making a left. Um, Now, the left that's on the navigation is not the left I normally take. I normally take an earlier left. So whenever I get near it, I turn off FSD so that I can take the earlier left because it will not, it just does, the navigation doesn't put it down there. But this time, and I don't know why, it kind of attempts to take that left that I normally take. And I don't know if I remember if I had ever kept it on long enough for me to test if that was something it always does. So now that I've seen it now, I might just let it see what it's going to do in the future. It'd be great if it was a learned behavior, but I don't really think that's what it is. I think I just never had it on before because I always knew it was going to take the wrong turn, and taking that wrong turn has to take me around the entire building to get into it. So the left I would normally take is right about here where that red car is going. And you see it dips in there, but then that's not really where it's supposed to be going, at least not according to the navigation. But that's where I would go. But this is now it takes the proper one. Well, that's it for this one. I'll catch you guys in the next one.